Okay.
All right, I'd like to call the Village Council special meeting Wednesday, March 10th, 2021 to order. I show that it is 6:30 and we have a quorum except for Jamie Lyon.
And he will not be attending.
He will not be attending, but we do have a full quorum. So that said, I need to make a motion first off to allow Council Member Mark Elise to participate remotely.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. First up, we have the adoption of the agenda. Since it's a special meeting, we can't add anything. Do we want to remove anything?
Nope.
Okay, so I need a motion to pass the, adopt the agenda as stated.
So moved.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion,
Sometimes Bob wants
motion
to
passes unanimously. Next up on the order is open the public hearing for installment financing contract for the construction of Marvin Village Hall to be built at 10006 Marvin School Road. I need a motion to open public comments.
So moved.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Motion
Andy
passes.
got it.
So who's got this?
Do I can lead.
But we
Okay.
need to swear
Do you
people
need
in,
to swear
right?
me
don't.
It's legislative.
This is legislative, yes.
Okay.
Look at that. I wrote
So-
that last night.
What do I do?
Nothing.
Do we,
Nothing.
well, the first thing to
You're good,
ask,
Jamie.
the first thing to ask is, does anyone from the, well,
Yeah,
or
anybody
do you
from the
want to
public?
speak on this first?
Yeah, I'm gonna do an intro of everybody.
Okay, you go ahead. You go ahead and then we'll do the public.
Okay, if I may, so we've got three folks that I want to introduce. In that lower left-hand corner, that's David Cheatwood. Give us a wave, David. He is from DFI. He's our financial advisor. His role is to do the amortization schedule, and he's guiding us through the local government, the LGC application process. Down right next to him is Scott Leo. Hey Scott, give us a wave. He's a partner over at Parker Poe. He and Andy up in the top right corner. Hey Andy, thanks for coming guys. They both, Scott's a partner over at Parker Poe. Andy's an associate at Parker Poe. They're on the same team. They're drafting the deed of trust and all of that background documentation, including this resolution, for moving forward with borrowing for Village Hall. So what you have in front of you, why you have to do this, Christina wants me to be brief. So why you have to do this tonight is because under General Statute 160A-20, you have to have a public hearing before directing Christina to go into a contract for installment financing.
Okay.
So
So that said, is that all you have for that part? Because we should open up to the public if someone has
Yes.
a comment. Is that correct? So I got that right?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we have no one here live, so I'm going to ask, I guess, there's a few people online that would be considered public. So if any of you want to speak on the open public session, now is your chance. So just unmute and, okay. Give it a sec. All right.
Can we just specify that this is for Village Hall financing?
I thought we did.
we can reiterate. Do you want me to reiterate?
So I need to open the,
No,
We've
we're
already
good.
opened it.
It's
yeah.
open. So this public comment period is for financing for Village Hall.
Yes.
Anybody want to say anything?
Okay. That said,
Okay.
that nothing has been said. What do we have anything else to discuss on your end, or are we going to turn it over to discussion and consideration?
And she would continue on from
Yeah,
there. This is-
discussion and
Okay.
consideration.
So then I'll need a motion to close the public comments.
So moved.
Further discussion. All's in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Now I need a motion to open the discussion and consideration.
You don't need a
Oh,
motion.
you don't need?
We're just-
Okay,
we're
we'll
just
go
talking
into
about it now.
discussion. All right.
I can certainly open the floor if my colleagues, Scott, David, and Andy have anything to add for clarification, or
I mean, I feel like
do you think,
we
it's
talked
clear?
about it. I mean, I don't have any questions. I think we've been talking about it for a while. I mean, I'm good.
I guess my question, if I had a question, is like, is this something common that you guys do on a regular basis? And
Good
you know, you've
question.
been through this, that you know, this isn't a first timer type thing and we're gonna be missing something. No offense, but you never know, you gotta ask the question. I know Parker Poe's well known, so,
And I'll just say First Tryon and Parker Poe do this pretty regularly. It's something that they commonly do. Chaplain has reviewed this resolution and he's approved it, so just so y'all are aware.
okay.
Well, the resolution's the next item, yes.
Yeah, there's Scott.
Yeah, this is Scott. Yeah,
We gotta.
this is the,
It's way too bad, sorry.
Go ahead.
You're okay, Scott, go ahead.
yeah, this is the comment process. So this is the first action for the council to go ahead and authorize the staff to move forward on the contract process, make application of the local government commission, make the findings that the commission want these to support that application. So this is a very common first step and to get the process moving.
And is the financing have a number attached to it with this? This existing?
Yeah, the public hearing notice and this resolution has a not to exceed amount of 1.8 million. That doesn't obligate you to do 1.8 million. That's just sort of the outside number that you're stating publicly now that you could do as we move through the process and get a lender on board and move forward. Then you can narrow that down and come to, you know, the more specific number within that you guys want to do.
So that's the max number we could use, Scott. So say because of construction cost have skyrocketed and stuff, I'm predicting we may see some numbers that we weren't expecting. So say that it's over 2 million, but we still want to move forward. We're looking at another 200,000. This process starts again, or how does it, is this addendum, or is this, how does that work?
I'll answer that, Scott.
Go ahead.
We basically have to go to the LGC for approval, and so the 1.8 is what the LGC is approving us to obtain financing at. Remember, we do have $800,000 in the bank, so the maximum amount this project could be is 1.8 plus 800,000, which we do not expect it to be that high. But if it does exceed that 1.8 plus 800, we would have to go back through this process again because we're only getting approved
2.6.
from the LGC for 1.8 million.
Yeah, we got plenty of room.
Yeah, Scott, do you guys help us walk through the RFP for the lenders?
That's David Cheatwood's role.
Okay, David, you guys do that?
Sure, yeah, I'm happy to do that. Y'all have a copy of that in your packets?
Not tonight, David, I'm sorry, but I can grab it.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, well, if y'all have it in front of you, I'd reference a few things, but I'll just talk about it in general here. So we put together a kind of 3-page RFP that is going to give lenders all the information that they're going to want to know in order to submit a proposal on it. And so it's got the amortization schedule, and we're going to ask lenders to, we're going to propose 2 different options to them, a 15-year term and a 20-year term, and we're going to allow them to bid on one or both, not required to do both. That's because certain lenders don't want to lend past 15 years, other lenders are willing to do that, and so we want to, instead of deciding on the front end, hey, it's going to be a 15-year deal or a 20-year deal, let's get the information in, let's get the rates in, we'll present it to you all and make a decision from there. But we give them the amortization, we give them the security structure, which is the standard North Carolina installment financing security structure, where the purpose of tonight's meeting, you have a deed of trust, you're granting a deed of trust to the lender on the new village hall. And so we outline that, we give them the dates of approvals and closing date, and kind of some other miscellaneous information that they're gonna wanna know. We send that, we've got a list of probably close to 40 banks that we send these bank RFPs to. They're the ones that banks you know of and you see on the corner, but also some banks that maybe you haven't heard of before but are just interested in lending. They've got buckets of money they want to lend to municipalities, and so once they get on our list, like it or not, they stay on our list. So every bank gets every RFP we send out. That's not to say, you know, we'll send it to 40 banks. I do not expect 40 responses on this. You know, as I've talked about with Jamie and Christina, you know, I would expect for 15 years we get maybe around 5 proposals, 5 or 6 proposals for the 20-year options, 2, maybe 3. There's just not that many lenders that will go out 20 years on a fixed rate basis. And so I just want to make sure I'm kind of setting the, not over promising by saying 40 responses here, but that's who gets it. And then we normally put it out there for about 3 weeks. And during that 3-week period, we'll reach out. Many will have questions. And so we'll answer those questions, some back and forth. And then I normally, about a week ahead of the due date, really get a good feel for who's planning to submit a response. I'll relay that to Jamie and Christina. We send them your financial statements as a part of this RFP. They'll want to dig into that a little bit. But it's a fairly straightforward RFP with the information they're going to want to know in order to bid on it.
Okay.
And so we would send that out, or propose to send that out on
March 15.
Monday the 15th, and then we would get those bank bids back on Monday, April the 5th, and be able to then relay that information to you from there.
Thanks, Dave.
That RFP select will be a part of an agenda item in a future meeting, so y'all will actually see these and select the banks that bid. You'll see the whole gamut of the ones that submitted.
Christina, is that also going to be like lowest responsive bidder, or is that going to have some wiggle room like the waste collection situation?
From my understanding, we will be able to have some wiggle room. David, you may be able to comment further on that.
Yeah, and so what we have in here is that we will award it, while it's substantially based on the lowest financing cost, the village reserves the right to select the bidder that best meets the needs of the village. And so we put that in there because while, one of the other features that we ask banks to provide is a prepayment provision. And so different banks put in different prepayment provisions in there, and that's an important consideration for the village. And so if you have the absolute lowest interest rate, but you can't refinance it, you can't prepay it, but there's an option where it's an interest rate that's 0.05% higher, so slightly higher interest rate, but you have more prepayment flexibility, that's something we would typically recommend. Hey, it's a little bit higher rate, but you have more flexibility, go with that one. And so we want to give you the ability to do that versus the absolute lowest cost. And so we put that language in the RFP that it is not lowest cost. That's the main thing we're focused on, but we have that wiggle room.
So that would be, so when you say that, then we might have the option to pay the year in advance. Could save us potentially some interest, like for a prepayment type of situation?
Most of the prepayment provisions, there's two ways banks can propose it. One is a prepayment in whole, meaning if you're going to prepay, you've got to prepay the whole thing or refinance the whole thing. The other way is prepay in part. And so some banks will allow you to prepay a portion of it. So if you have extra money coming in a year, and you want to put an extra $100,000 towards it, you can do that. It's not uniform across all banks, and so that's why we leave it open-ended and say submit, with your rate, tell us what your prepayment provisions are. Some banks will give you options. Hey, it's X rate with this prepayment provision, it's Y rate with this prepayment provision. Which we like. We'd rather get in options to go over with y'all versus just a single one. And so that in whole or in part comes into play. And then the other thing will just be the timing. Some banks will say right out of the gate you can prepay in whole or in part. Some will say after 5 years you can do it, or after 10 years. Others will say, after 5 years you can do it, but you owe me a 1% prepayment penalty on the amount you're prepaying. And after 10 years, it goes away. So it really runs the gamut. But we'll lay all that out. We'll put a summary together of the bank RFP responses that come in, and it will highlight the interest rate. It'll convert what that interest rate means in terms of total dollars that the village will have to pay to help put that rate differential into perspective. It'll tell you the prepayment provisions. It'll highlight any bank fees. Like normally a bank will have their own counsel review the documents that Parker Poe drafts. And so normally they'll charge, or some will charge a slight bank counsel fee for that. And then if there's any other terms or conditions that we want to make you aware of, we'll put that in the summary as well. So Jamie and Christina will have that summary that they can provide to you all. Those other terms or conditions are things like you've got to send the bank your audit within 210 days after your fiscal year. You've got to send them your budget 30 days after adoption. There's some of these things that they're not necessarily red flags, just things you've got to do going forward with.
Okay.
So David, have you found that the current rates are similar to what like residential rates are, under 3%? Is that what we can expect typically?
Good question.
Yes, I would expect under 3%. You know, we have seen, if you've been following the market, we have seen rates go up over the last 30 days or so. They're primarily driven by an improving outlook on the economy, kind of the light at the end of the potential end of the COVID pandemic tunnel here. And so we've seen rates go up, some inflation concerns associated with that as well. That said, I would still expect an interest rate, whether it's the 15 or 20-year term, and there will be a slight differential between those, the 20-year being a higher rate as you would expect, but I do expect that under 3% for both options.
And not that you'll be able to necessarily answer this question, but if, in your opinion, given that, because I look at this, under 3%, money's cheap, right? So, in that respect, do you recommend, even though we have 800,000 sitting in cash, if it comes in the 1.8, that we finance 100% of that, only because money's so cheap? And I, like you, fear interest rates going up in the near future, or within the next 20 years for sure, that we could maybe use that $800,000 for other potential projects, from your professional opinion.
Yes, if you all, the short answer is yes. The fact that money is very cheap right now, and I expect it to go up, you know, locking in a very low interest rate on the total amount is a good idea. The other thing is, in my discussions with Christina and Jamie, you know, to the extent you'll have some other projects out there that maybe don't fit quite as well with an installment financing like this, that would be good to use your cash for those projects versus trying to find a financing structure to fit those. And so, you know, looking at that, that's, I would agree with that as well.
Christina, are we allowed to do that? Like if we get financing and we ask the public for financing for Village Hall, are we allowed to use extra money for other stuff?
Well, it's in certain.
We are, it's in your capital.
It's in capital.
The 800,000 is in our capital project fund, so as long as we spend it on a capital project, we can do that. However, I will keep in mind, we have only budgeted for a $850,000 loan. So anything that exceeds that amount that we budgeted for those payments, we would have to come with that cash to make those annual payments.
That's what you're saying. Okay, so hold on. So you answered not the question that I asked. So what Joe was saying was, let's say Village Hall comes back at 1.5 million. Joe was asking if I'm.
Well, let's just say it comes at 1.8 million, the full amount.
Okay.
And we just say, we're gonna take, instead of taking the 800,000 we have in capital.
That's what you were
and
asking.
applying it,
Okay.
and then just taking $1 million loan. I'm saying right now,
Take the
in
whole
your
thing.
professional
Yeah,
opinion,
yeah,
take the whole thing,
I
because
gotcha.
money's cheap, 3%.
misunderstood
You're not gonna
your
get a
question.
better deal than
Okay,
that.
I'm good. I misunderstood your question.
My one kind of caveat or follow-up to that is obviously making sure from an ongoing basis you all can afford the 1.8 million in payments. Because that's going to be, if that's over a 15 or 20 year period, yes, money's cheap, but you still got to repay it. And so if y'all got the money there and it fits within your budget going forward, and y'all can account for that, then so I did.
Which then leads into finding that deal that we get offered, that we could use that 800,000 at any given time and prepay that down to a lower level, still keeping it under 3%.
Or just use the 800 to.
Yeah, but you know, there's some other capital projects.
But the thing is that we have the cash to appropriate how we feel like we need to, rather than being locked into the.
I misunderstood your question. Okay.
Village Hall, which I like better because it gives us options.
100%.
I like options.
Okay.
Good questions, guys.
And just to speak numbers to sense, roughly speaking, I think we budgeted for $800,000 loan, which was about $65,000 a year. Don't quote me on those numbers, but it's somewhere around there. So if we're looking at 1.8, we're basically looking at coming up with another $60,000 a year to pay that annual payment.
Okay. So it's just the decision's gonna be made once we figure out what the bid's coming out.
Yes.
But it's also, we could step back, take a look at our other capital projects. is there a priority that we'd really like to see get done? And, you know, I mean, there could be, in a sense that, you know, depending on what happens, so, and what's considered a capital project, so.
Quick point of clarification on the agenda. Under the public hearing where after public comments, says discussion and consideration, that consideration is actually for item number 5.
Okay.
So we're doing kind of these at the same time,
Okay,
just so no one gets confused.
okay.
From a process point,
No, they're fine.
oh, okay, but are we still in the public hearing? Or
Yes.
No,
Well, we're
we
out
closed the public. We
Closed
closed.
it.
We closed the
Yes.
public
So we're
comments.
discussing consideration, and to Austin's point, we are
We're in item
considering
number
an
5.
adoption
Yeah.
of preliminary resolution of the Village Council of the Village of Marvin, North Carolina, authorizing the negotiation of an installment financing contract and providing for certain other related matters thereto.
Yeah, that's what y'all have been doing for the last.
That's
few
what we've
meetings.
been
Yeah.
doing, so. Okay.
May I speak,
Yes,
Mayor? So this document that's in front of you is the preliminary resolution drafted by Scott and Andy. And there's a lot of background, so you have a lot of whereas. But if you turn to the second page, you'll see, Mayor, to your point, the therefore, that's not to exceed 1.8 under the contract. And what you're doing is you're saying to Christina, yes, Christina, you can go and negotiate a contract and a deed of trust with this document. And then you're also letting me and Christina go forward with the team to apply to the LGC to ask for permission to borrow.
okay.
So that's the nature, and I'll defer to Scott or Andy if they have any adds.
So Christina's gonna negotiate this contract, we're not gonna see it? We're not gonna see the
Oh, no.
bids?
No, the bids
No,
will
that's-
come.
We'll see the
You will
bids.
see the bids, yeah.
It's all
yeah.
public.
Yeah, you will
Well,
see the
and-
bids and the construction.
And I was just gonna add, we'll be coming back to council, I think it's scheduled for early May, for another resolution to do the final approval of all of this, and that will, once you've seen the bids and we've got the bank on board and we've sort of got the deal in place, we'll be coming back to council for a final approval to authorize the execution and delivery of the installment financing contract, the deed of trust, and all the other things that need to get done to put the financing in place with the lender.
Okay.
Thank
And
So
you.
y'all will see every-
Scott.
I'm sorry,
Mayor Pro Tem.
sorry, Christina?
Y'all will see everything, the contract, y'all will see all of the contract documents, the deed of trust.
Right.
Y'all will award
Okay.
the,
You'll award the
banking
bank.
of which entity you want to go with. I'm not doing anything single-handedly. Y'all will see all of it,
Okay.
y'all will approve and grant authority to do all of that.
No, I didn't mean to
And-
leave that,
and
leave us
I-
on that path.
I think at this point, a final question for me, and I'm not sure who would answer this, just to refresh my memory, and for the public information as well, we are not using any other assets to secure this debt other than the actual village hall itself, correct?
That is
That is
correct.
correct.
Okay.
That does include the real property, the land.
The
Right,
land
right.
and the, and
Real.
the
That's the-
application.
I'm just
That's
saying,
the
we're not going at this with securing this debt with putting Eford Park
Right.
online or
No, no, no,
anything
no.
else.
And that is the entire acreage there
Right.
that we're including?
Okay.
Yes,
I
and
will
you'll
note
see
there are
that.
2 parcels there. I don't know the exact acreage of each parcel, but it's in that same common area. I think it equates to between 3 and 4 acres, but it would be both of those parcels.
Okay.
And that is the purpose of the deed of trust that Parker Poe will, that we're collateralizing the building.
Okay.
I'm good.
But I didn't mean to lead you down a path that you wouldn't be seeing the documents. You're
No, that's
seeing-
okay, I just wanted that clarification, we're good.
I think I am good with questions. I appreciate you guys
They've
being
worked
here
hard.
for this and for working on this. Any other questions from council, Bob?
No, I'm good.
And
Yeah, I'm
Zoom? Okay,
good.
thank you, Andy. All right. That being said,
I'll do it. Ready?
I have Mayor Pro Tem Kim here in person to read the motion.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution of the Village Council of the Village of Marvin, North Carolina, authorizing the negotiation of the installment financing contract and providing for certain other related matters thereto, conditioned upon no receipt of comments contrary to the council decision from the public hearing within 24 hours.
Further discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank you, gentlemen.
the,
Thanks, guys.
again, hard work on that. And,
Good work.
well, it's certainly less than an hour. That's a good thing in this village. It's usually Kim that keeps going. Anyways, thanks again.
Thank
And
you
then
very
we're gonna move into closed session.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, I'll need a
Okay,
motion to
9
move
a.m.
into closed session.
Yep, somebody make a
So moved.
motion
Bye,
to
guys.
move into closed session
Oh.
pursuant to NCGS 143-318.11A15 for review and approval of closed session minutes for 9/8/20, 10/29/20, 11/10/20, 11/23/20, 1/12/21
Really nice.
meetings, and to discuss terms of potential acquisition of real property.
Further discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
All right, Bob will call you back. Christina will call you back.
All right, I don't need a motion to move out of closed session.
So moved.
All's in favor?
Aye. So we're back in open
Motion
session.
passes. We're now back in open session.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to approve the closed session minutes from 9/8/20, 10/29/20, 11/10/20, 11/23/20, and 1/12/21, as presented.
So moved. Further discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Now we need a motion to adjourn.
At 7:36.
So moved.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right, no, you don't get to keep those.